Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever considered the often invisible forces shaping our digital landscape? Especially somewhere like Seattle, such a vibrant tech hub.
Right.
Today, we're doing a deep dive. We're looking into cloud governance, data privacy, and how these big global tech trends, they ripple right down into our local communities.
Yeah, affecting everything.
Everything from cyber threats to, well, even housing. And it's August 2025. Things are moving incredibly fast.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how these concepts, cloud best practices, they sound abstract,
Uh-huh.
but they directly impact, well, real things. A company's agility, your personal data security.
Yeah.
We're going to try and connect those dots today. Look at the technical nuts and bolts, but also the bigger picture, the societal stuff, all based on what's happening right now, August 2025.
Exactly. Our mission here is to sift through a whole stack of sources, AWS guides, infrastructure reports, analyses of laws like Washington's My Health, My Data Act.
That one's a biggie.
Huge. Plus, Seattle's own tech and housing scene. We want to give you a shortcut, basically. Help you get really informed, maybe share a few surprising facts, keep it interesting.
Sounds like a plan.
So let's kick things off. Cloud governance at scale. The cloud, it promises so much, right? Better security, compliance, visibility, speed, innovation.
All the good stuff.
But when companies grow and grow fast, what are the real headaches they run into trying to keep that cloud magic actually under control?
Well, you'd be surprised. Or maybe not, if you're in the thick of it. Many organizations, even now, they grapple with really fundamental issues.
Like what?
Our sources, they consistently highlight these complaints. Our account process is error-prone. That means delays, mistakes.
Right.
Or it's hard to scale our environment. They hit bottlenecks. We have to manually configure accounts. That's just inefficiency right there.
Manual configuration.
Exactly. Or hitting service limits they didn't expect, and maybe the biggest one, we need more visibility. They just don't know what's running where.
So they're flying blind, essentially.
Pretty much. And the key thing to realize is governance isn't just about locking things down. It's about enabling secure innovation quickly. Without it, that cloud agility, it can actually become a weakness.
Yeah, that makes sense. That manual setup, hitting limits,
Yeah.
it sounds like a nightmare for efficiency and probably security too.
Definitely.
But, okay, the upside. There was this quote from Andrew Kemmis, a cloud engineer, saying, with Control Tower, we can provision accounts, compliant, in less than 30 minutes.
Impressive, right?
That's incredibly fast. So how do businesses get there? How do they achieve that kind of rapid but still compliant setup?
Well, that brings us to a really important best practice from our sources. Use accounts as building blocks.
Building blocks.
Yeah. Think of your AWS resources, instances, storage, whatever, that's your raw material.
Yeah.
The accounts themselves, those are like your bricks, standardized engineered bricks.
Wow, I like that.
This approach lets organizations scale across many accounts, manage quotas properly, create natural security boundaries, isolation.
So you're not putting everything in one giant basket.
Exactly. It makes compliance easier, billing clearer. You're building lots of specialized connected structures instead of one huge rigid tower. It's just more resilient, more adaptable.
Building with digital bricks. I love that analogy. It really clarifies why that structure matters.
It's fundamental for scaling securely.
Speaking of solid foundations and good structures, we'd like to thank our first sponsor, www.cisomarketplace.com, for supporting this deep dive. They help folks find the right cybersecurity solutions.
Good stuff.
So if accounts are our building blocks, how do we automate putting them together, making sure they're consistent, fast, like that 30-minute example?
Right. Automation is key. That's best practice number 3. Automate account provisioning and customization.
How's that done in practice?
You leverage infrastructure as code, or IAC. Tools like AWS CloudFormation lets you define your infrastructure in code. AWS Service Catalog offers pre-approved, curated services for self-service. And AWS Control Tower, with its account factory, automates setting up secure, compliant accounts.
So you're treating infrastructure like software.
Precisely. You get version control, testing, consistency. It slashes those manual errors that cause so many problems, and it seriously boosts agility. Dev teams get what they need, fast and right.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Accounts are provisioned, maybe automatically, but then you have to lock them down, right? Immediately.
Absolutely critical.
Our sources hammer this point. Apply the principle of least privilege. Sounds foundational, but what does it really mean day to day?
It is foundational. It means giving users and systems only the bare minimum access they need to do their specific job, nothing more.
Like only the key to your own office, not the whole building.
Perfect analogy. It means restricting access to those supercritical management accounts. It means requiring multi-factor authentication MFA for everyone, especially privileged users.
No exceptions.
No exceptions. And integrating your existing identity systems using tools like IAM Identity Center makes managing access scalable and simpler. The big mistake is giving too much access just for convenience. Creates huge risks.
And what about tracking what happens? Audit trails.
Crucial. That's where you see things like immutability and non-repudiation with AWS organizations and CloudTrail. Basically, records can't be changed or denied.
Amper proof.
Right. And integrity validation with CloudTrail Lake gives you like forensic analysis capabilities on that data.
Okay, so access control, auditing. But the sources also talk about controls management. What's that about? Aligning to a framework. Preventive controls.
Yeah, so a security framework, think NIST, CIS, others you can map to using tools like AWS Config, Security Hub, Control Tower, gives you that consistent blueprint for managing risk.
Got it.
Then preventive controls are like the guards at the gate. They enforce your security rules before something bad can happen. They stop misconfigurations before deployment.
Stopping it early.
Exactly. It massively reduces the attack surface. It ensures certain invariants are always true. It's like a pre-flight check. The plane doesn't take off if something critical is wrong.
That saves a lot of headaches later.
Huge amounts, and helps developers fix things fast. But it's not just set and forget. You have to continuously monitor and test control effectiveness. Make sure those guards are still awake and doing their job.
Okay, that makes sense for securing the systems. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about the data itself. Data privacy. It's huge everywhere, but especially here in Washington State right now, August 2025. Tell us about this My Health, My Data Act. It sounds significant.
Oh, it is. Significant might be an understatement. It's really sweeping, and it applies super broadly.
How broad?
Any legal entity doing business in Washington, or even just targeting products or services to Washington consumers, doesn't matter how big they are, how much revenue, how many users.
So not just healthcare companies.
Not at all. And the definition of consumer health data, exceptionally broad. It's personal information linked or reasonably linkable to a consumer identifying past, present, or future physical or mental health status.
Okay. What does that include, though?
Think about it. Data showing someone is seeking any kind of healthcare service. And healthcare service is defined broadly to anything to assess, measure, improve, or learn about health.
So, like a fitness tracker, a diet app, a search for symptoms online.
Exactly. Even potentially loyalty card data showing purchases of, say, vitamins or over-the-counter meds. It pulls in a vast amount of data that EPO, the federal health law, doesn't typically cover.
That scope is staggering and must catch so many businesses off guard. Businesses that never thought they handled health data.
Absolutely. And the obligations for handling that data, they're extreme.
How so?
It basically mandates GDPR-level opt-in consent for almost any collection, use, or sharing beyond what's strictly necessary for something the consumer actually asked for.
Explicit opt-in. Wow.
Explicit opt-in. Separate opt-in even for sharing with affiliates, like sister companies, and for selling data. The rules are so strict, it's basically a de facto ban on a lot of common third-party targeted advertising practices involving this data.
So that really changes the game for ad tech and data brokers using health-related signals.
Completely. Plus, there's a strict geofencing ban. No using location data within 2,000 feet of a place providing health services, think clinics, pharmacies, for tracking people or targeting ads related to health.
That's incredibly specific. Navigating this must be a huge challenge.
It requires robust systems and a whole new level of diligence.
And robust solutions. We're grateful to our sponsor, www.CISOmarketplace.services, for supporting our discussion on navigating these complex compliance waters.
It's definitely complex.
So beyond regulations, we have the real-world threats. They just keep coming. We saw it just last year, August 2024. The Port of Seattle potentially hit by a cyber attack affecting CA Airport.
Right, following those other big outages at CrowdStrike, Amazon, Microsoft.
What does that tell us about the threat landscape now, mid-2025?
It just underscores how critical and how vulnerable our infrastructure is. Critical infrastructure continues under threat really drives this home. These systems are so interconnected.
A domino effect.
Exactly. A breach at one point can cascade. It's not just about one company's data anymore. It's the economy, society, supply chains. It's why you see CISA and others focusing so much now, August 2025, on software security and protecting critical infrastructure from, well, everyone, including state actors.
And that Washington Attorney General's 2022 report, it paints a pretty stark picture locally. 150 breaches reported.
Yeah.
Second highest ever back then.
And cyber attacks caused 68% of them. That T-Mobile breach alone hit over 2 million Washingtonians.
That's massive. What kind of data was getting compromised?
The usual suspects, unfortunately, social security numbers, driver's licenses, but also health insurance info, medical details, even biometric data, highly sensitive stuff.
So the AG made recommendations back in 2022. Were they listened to? Did they anticipate things like my health, my data?
They were definitely pushing in that direction. They urged legislators to protect health data where IPA had gaps like health apps, employer programs. They wanted opt-out signals like CCPA and GDPR.
Makes sense.
And crucially, making breach notices accessible in multiple languages.
Right.
Recognizing that, 20% of households here speak a language other than English. That's an access issue, a fairness issue.
Absolutely. It highlights the need for a more consistent approach globally, too, right? This patchwork of laws is confusing.
It really is. How do we get to more harmonized standards? That's a huge question.
And bringing it back to prevention, how do developers on the front lines stop these vulnerabilities from becoming breaches in the first place?
Well, embracing that infrastructure as code, we talked about CDK, Terraform, CloudFormation that helps embed security early through consistency.
Right.
And another key practice, detect security vulnerabilities in your code. Using tools like Amazon Code Guru for automated reviews, Code Catalyst for secure pipelines, Code Whisperer for AI coding assistance.
Finding problems earlier.
Exactly. Finding and fixing them during development, that's shifting security left. It's way cheaper and safer than finding them after deployment.
Okay, we've covered the digital foundations, the threats, the privacy rules. Let's pivot back to Seattle itself. The tech scene here is just booming.
It really is.
Sources from earlier this year, February 2025, show huge demand. AI engineer rolls up 60%, data science 48%, cybersecurity 42%.
And that 166% jump in AI-focused positions is staggering. Seattle's really becoming the AI hub in North America.
A powerhouse.
Yeah.
But that rapid growth, all that economic energy, it creates other pressures, doesn't it? Especially around housing.
Absolutely. That Amazon Effect paper we looked at explores this tension, how Amazon's philanthropy, its community engagement, has evolved partly in response to political challenges right here.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, that dynamic. Amazon launched its big $2 billion housing equity fund back in 2021.
Right, aiming for 20,000 affordable homes across Seattle, D.C., Nashville, low-interest loans to developers.
Sounds great on the surface, but there are critiques, aren't there? Especially given the history with local policy.
There are. You have to look back. Remember 2018, the Seattle City Council passed that head tax on big businesses, Amazon included, to fund housing and homeless services.
Unanimously, yeah.
And then it got repealed after intense business pressure.
Right.
Amazon put $1 million into fighting it.
Right.
And more recently, just this year, February 2025, Amazon and Microsoft opposed that proposed tax on $1 million-plus compensation packages, which was also meant for social housing.
So it raises that big question.
It does. Are companies obligated to fix the problems their growth might contribute to?
Yeah.
And what happens when we rely on private philanthropy instead of, say, public tax revenue for these core social needs? It's a huge debate.
There was that quote from the University of Washington scholar.
Yeah, pointing out that while the philanthropy absolutely deploys needed capital, companies naturally act in line with their business interests. Sometimes these actions are partly strategic, to maybe head off tougher regulations. It's not simple. It's this complex dance between corporate power, public policy, community needs.
A very complex dance. And that tension even exists within the tech ecosystem itself.
How so?
Well, one critique that came up in our sources was about the Seattle niece culture.
Ah, yes.
The idea that while it's pleasant, maybe it sometimes discourages the really direct, challenging feedback needed for breakthrough innovation.
Interesting.
There's this call for more founders investing in other founders, building a stronger, maybe more candid entrepreneurial network, especially since Seattle slipped a bit in those global startup rankings, down to number 20.
So a push for a more constructively critical culture.
Something like that. A palpable push to keep sharpening that innovative edge.
Well, that's a fascinating look at the local impact. And it really wraps up an incredible deep dive today. A huge thank you again to our sponsors, www.cisomarketplace.com and www.cisomarketplace.services, for helping make this conversation possible.
Absolutely.
Wow, what a journey, huh? From the nitty-gritty of cloud best practices.
Those digital bricks, right? To the complexities of Washington's My Health, My Data Act, the constant cyber threats.
And seeing how tech giants interact with housing policy right here in Seattle.
It's also connected.
Yeah.
More than you might think at first glance.
Definitely. And if you connect it all to the bigger picture, it's really about trying to navigate this world of constant, accelerating technological change.
Yeah.
Understanding these practices, these regulations that impact on society. It's just crucial if you want to make sense of where we are now and where we're heading.
It really is. Every cloud account, every piece of data, every line of code, it matters.
It has real-world consequences.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? As we look ahead in this landscape where innovation, regulation, social responsibility, they're all blurring together.
Yeah.
Here's a thought to chew on. How do we collectively make sure that this incredible power of technology we've talked about isn't just used for speed and efficiency, but for progress that's actually equitable, secure, and sustainable for everyone?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
It certainly is. Something to think about.